We have now already improved the storyline of your presentation and have a quite okay title slide. The next thing we want to dive into is how can we actually reduce the amount of items per slide? As we learned from the How to Avoid Death by PowerPoint talk from Javid Phillips, 6 items per slide. That's what we're kind of opting at. It might not always be possible, but some of the slides I had very, very messy. So let's go back to the slideshow, which we have. And now look into how can we reduce the amount of content. As we see here, and I'm very sorry LTU that I'm doing that, but there's always this Lulu University of Technology. It's actually also white, and this is quite disturbing. Since it is so bright, and it's actually always 2 additional items, the white bar and the text, it is increasing the amount of content on a slide. So generally, for my own presentations, adjust the slide master by removing this white bar from all of the slides. And this will reduce the amount of content on your slides. There's also this point here, should we have a footer in general? It depends. If you're in an area where you really want that one of the most important takeaways is your name and you want to make sure people see it at every slide, you can put it. Same with the slide numbers. Most of the times nowadays I don't have slide numbers. I have memorizable slides and people can, when they ask the question, refer to the content. But if you want them to be able to refer to a slide number, feel free to add slide numbers. So I remove all of this, in my opinion, unnecessary content, reducing already the amount of content. But that was not the major thing. Major thing is that I have here way too much. There was this sequence, right? Look into the animation pane, we see a sequence of items, and that actually gives us already a solution of what we should do. Instead of having one slide with all of the items, I just make one slide per item. And I, by the way, will also not use the standard layout. I typically like to have the main content in the middle. Maybe I will use even the totally blank layout and have here the text, deep learning works for documents. That is what we want to, or what I want to mainly highlight in my presentation. And I can make it even bigger now because there is a lot of space. Let's say 32. Deep learning works for document. And now that we have that main message of the slide here, I could actually add a document. I think I have one here. So I can just take that document and put it on the slide as well. And in that case, I move it a bit to the right and have, it's actually in the LTU slide set as well. There is this layout where you have 2 items side by side. It's always good to have a nice picture and a nice text on the other side. That's more or less what I'm applying. The LTU template is really nice for suggesting many of the nice, stylish overviews. The only boring one, which unfortunately I think they had to take in, is this title on the top and then content, because many people are still used to it. But if I here now have a document and I say deep learning works for documents, that will be impressive. I could actually do the same the other way around, just for consideration. If you have the text on the left and the graphics on the right, you in a way put a bit more emphasis on the text. If you have it the other way around, it will be more impressive and engaging because you have a very beautiful graphics. And though we can go on, I might want to then highlight, okay, that work had been published at several venues. So I could add it then here as an additional item, but maybe it's even better, and I will do that directly, to not put it on the slide, but to put it in my notes. Yes, you're right. You heard right. We have the presenter notes, and these are very important. That's why I will make them actually even bigger. Here comes all the noisy text, most of the things we want to say. No one actually knows what NIPS and TEPAMI and whatsoever stands for in my audience. So instead I could say, I only say it has been published at two of the major and top 10 ranked venues in computer science, neural information processing, and the journal on transactions from IEEE on pattern recognition. So I can say these things instead of putting it cluttered on the slide. If you want, of course, you can also add things on your slide, maybe a bit smaller, but it's a bit up to you. Then the thing I wanted to mention was the award, and that is something we can directly put on the next slide. And you can do it, again, I will use now always text size 32. Weird. And if you have, you can even put a picture of yourself or of the award. But you can also just write, that has been finally led to the Young Investigator Award. Then I already mentioned in the intro that some of these things are not so important, but that web services are useful for the digital humanities. That was an item which I think is worth keeping. Make again a new line for digital humanities. And web service, I keep capital and digital humanities as well, because they are in a way proper words. I will not do that, by the way, for the Young Investigator Award. But for proper terms, languages, and whatsoever, it's good. And if you have an image, you can add that as well. I will here, in that case, be pragmatic and just put the IAPR logo on it, because that's the International Association for Pattern Recognition. And I will probably mention it. Not to forget, again, I use that one here, International Association for Pattern Recognition. And it's quite useful to actually use these text annotations you can do for your slides, because when you have finally, let's say, a tutorial or something, you maybe want to prepare a handout, and nowadays people don't print out things, they just prepare a PDF document. You can export the PDF document with annotations. So whatever interesting tutorial text you want to add, you can directly add here. Some people also say, yeah, but sometimes I want to have really great graphics and schemas in my slideshow as well. You can do that. And then for your presentation, just hide this slide. Hide slide. Then it's there in the handout, but it's not there during your presentation. When you give this tutorial or the lecture or whatsoever, you can mention you will have a handout, and in the handout you have additional slides with all the details. You can even show one of them, but do not overwhelm them. Now we have the agenda, and as you might have already identified, I do not like too many items per slide, so I will use less. Maybe I will also use the blank layout, as I mentioned earlier. I will adjust the text size to 32. I will remove the bullets. I might centralize it. I'm not sure. Looks quite okay. Centralize the whole thing a bit. So, and now I realize I might not even need the word agenda. I could have it, but is it really important? You can consider that. You can keep it, you can delete it as you wish. And then we have here the same thing, but I guess you understand already what we will do. We make a new blank slide. And now I will take the title, and that will be, I think this actually exists here, even not as blank, but as section header. Deep learning, no, through space and time. That can be my section header now. Maybe the orange bar is something we can keep. And then you make two more slides. One, the first graphics. And one with a second graphics. And of course, we will adjust the layout again, but I will not bother you now with all these details. So instead of one slide with a lot of contents, we have a slide and saying I was working on deep learning through space and time, working with deep convolutional neural networks and with multidimensional long short-term networks. And I guess you understand now already the idea here. Instead of having one slide with many items, we have actually, again, a section header, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 further items. And all that text here will most likely go into the slide notes. I'll do it just for one of the items that you understand what I mean. We put the scans here, and in that slide we already remove all of this, only our scan. And I will do the same for all the other items as well. Forgot to change the layout to blank again. That is a way more professional slide than the one before. And then we have our graphics. And now it's always a question, what do we do with these graphics? I will for now decide, no, the schema is very important. I want it to be there as a whole. How we will work with this will be part of the next session. I will just leave it as is. And then we have a table, and here we do the same thing. We will split it into 3 slides, one with a section header, and then one with the first results and one with maybe the final outcome. And when it comes to the teaching experience, that's the same we can do before. Actually, I take the whole text, which I have here, put it here into my notes, and instead focus on the most important things that I have done, lectures by myself since 2008, that I have also many seminars, maybe 20 plus, doesn't matter, we can also say it, and more than 20 finished PhD students. This is the most important thing. The other things I can just say during the presentation. And of course here we have all these impressions. That will be again one slide with the impressions and then one slide per picture. Like that, we have now focused on how can we reduce the amount of items per slides. Note that I did not actually change the length of my presentation here in terms of time. Only the amount of slides has been changed. So if in future you go somewhere and you have your set of 20 slides which you want to present in 3 minutes, and someone says, wow, how can you present 20 slides in 3 minutes? Tell them, yes, it's possible. I can do that. You will see. I have really tried and rehearsed, and I'm sure I will manage.